now that they are, I'm curious to see what his role is going to be.
Does he have a title yet?
No, we're supposed to find that out today. So in, probably 4 hours from now, we will know exactly what it is that he's going to be doing. But I got to imagine it's going to be either something helping out with defensive backs, or maybe a defensive assistant who, is helping design coverage schemes for an upcoming opponent or something like that. But, he's certainly not going to overtake Jerry Gray's position as the lead secondary coach. But I'll just be curious to see if this is a one-year deal for him, or if this is his future for 20 years, that he wants to get into coaching and devote that much time to it.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. He obviously has the mentality and the skills to do it, but you got to want to. And a lot of former players just don't end up not liking coaching. You're responsible for a lot. You're blamed for a lot. The salary isn't the same. You got to love it. You really do. Let's talk about Kendall Wright next. I do want to thank Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. I've told you about Twill over and over. Again, right off France, in Edina, in the Edina Galleria, easy in, easy out, a very easy place to shop. What I'd like to emphasize right now is just how good a place it is if you're asking for somebody to buy you a gift, or if you're looking for a gift for the man in your life. Twill can help out, because they're not only going to have really nice clothes, really fine clothes, really comfortable casual clothes, but they're also going to have some things that you probably wouldn't expect to find in a men's clothing store, whether it's the garment bag that rolls up into a duffel bag, whether it's hand-stitched belts from Vietnam. I mean, and they have a lot of, because Scott is always aligning with kind of new, trendier, innovative designers. He's always got something you wouldn't necessarily expect to find. Check out twillmn.com on Twitter. Check out Twill on Instagram.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
So Kendall Wright, when they signed him, I thought, this is a pretty good signing. This is a veteran slot receiver who played well in that role for a pretty bad offense last year. He takes the pressure off Laquan Treadwell having to be an impact player this year. He gives him some veteran savvy, and he did nothing. He earned his cut.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he had one catch in the preseason. But the thing that I thought all along, he was a realistic guy that could be cut. But I was surprised then that they didn't play him at all in the fourth preseason game. And when they just made him basically an inactive for that fourth preseason game, I thought, okay, well, I guess they just know what they have, and we haven't seen it yet. And that goes for games or practices. I didn't see a whole lot of zip in him being able to create separation. And it just seemed like a guy that didn't have a great role on the team. The fact that Adam Thielen especially, and also Stephon Diggs, can go and play in slot receivers and three receiver formations. When they went to those three wide formations, it was always Treadwell that was on the outside, and then usually Thielen, sometimes Diggs in the slot. And so in that respect, I think he was kind of a guy without a role. And then when you hear, okay, he doesn't play special teams, and Mike Zimmer was asked about that about halfway through training camp, what does it mean if Kendall Wright doesn't play special teams? And Zimmer basically said, it means he's not going to dress on game day. So,
wow.
At that point, you're going, well, wait a second here. You brought this guy in to compete for a number 3 spot, and you're already saying he won't dress on game day if he's not playing special teams. And the whole time he's not playing special teams. So the whole thing kind of confused me after a while. But ultimately, I think they did make the right decision, because I like a couple of the guys that they kept behind him. Stacey Coley has been injured throughout training camp. So I wasn't sure that he was going to make the team because you just hadn't seen enough from him, and you didn't know how much he was progressing from this. I think it was a hamstring injury with him. And then Brandon Zylstra, I really liked what I saw out of him in minicamp, but he dealt with some injuries throughout training camp and the preseason, and finally kind of made his mark in that 4th preseason game. So I think ultimately they kept some of the most talented receivers, but getting rid of a guy like Kendall Wright with the production that he's had, a former 1,000-yard receiver, was mildly surprising, but not as surprising after seeing what he did or didn't do during training camp in the preseason.
And I felt like all along Zylstra was likely to make the team because you're talking about somebody who's physically talented, who's built perfectly to play on special teams, and who's been productive in a professional league.
Yeah. I thought he was going to make the team, early in training camp, and then he started to have these injuries.
Yeah. And
Chad Beebe started to come on, and I really kind of liked what I saw out of Beebe. He's sort of that old slot receiver, the shorter guy who's really quick area. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Jarius Wright in that respect. Like he can just, with a couple of steps, create a yard or two of separation, and that's really what you need in the slot. So, Beebe was ultimately brought back on the practice squad. I thought he had a chance at the 53-man roster, but I can't fault them for keeping Zylstra because I think he's more of he's a bigger receiver. And talking to him, mini camp, training camp, he admits he's not the fastest guy in the world. So he needs to lean on technique and things like that to get open. And he went to Adam Thielen quite a bit, I think, and really got some advice on route running and how to set up defensive backs and things like that. And I think he's starting to employ that. And I could see him being a guy that is actually out there on offense at times, especially if they have any injuries where they need a game or two from, their number 4 receiver. I think he is going to be a productive guy for them.
Let's talk about the running back position, which ended up being one of the more intriguing positions of training camp. Do want to thank fixologyrepair.com, just like it sounds, fixologyrepair.com. 3rd floor of the Mall of America by Nordstrom's, also downtown Minneapolis in the Skyway. Their newer satellite office just south of the Wells Fargo Center, right across from Dunn Brothers. I'm sure you've walked past it. You ought to pop in and see what they have. My wife and I were just out at the Mall of America, and you walk by their place and you realize you are reminded again that they don't just fix stuff. They also sell some really cool, trendy stuff like Ferrari watches, all kinds of other stuff. But they can fix everything, every Apple product you have, tablets, iPhones. They do engraving. But basically, if you need something done, they can do it for you. Fixologyrepair.com.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at Mall of America. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
So the running back position, the question all along was, are you going to take Rock Thomas or Mike Boone? And the answer was both.
I'm really surprised at this one. I'm just surprised because it's such a numbers game. And, I felt like with Dalvin Cook, with Latavius Murray, CJ Ham is the fullback. I thought one of those two is going to make it, but I'm just surprised with the number of defensive linemen they had, the number of cornerbacks and safeties that they had, that they still kept an additional running back with Rock Thomas and Mike Boone. So, one of these guys is going to have to be inactive on game days. So I think Mike Boone showed everything that he's about during the preseason, which is, he can put his shoulder pads down, move forward for a couple extra yards, but also really kind of a slippery guy. And, Thomas didn't get to see as much of him after that first preseason game, but, they I think have seen enough of him in training camp to feel comfortable, at least for now, having him on the 53-man roster. I just wonder, though, if they need to make a move at any other spot, if his position is the first to go.
Interesting. Cornelius Edison got a little playing time because of injuries. Now he's on practice squad. Is he just not ready?
Yeah, but I was surprised that you spend basically the whole preseason. You have Nick Easton getting hurt right away in training camp. Pat Elflein never practiced during training camp. The whole preseason never practiced. And so Cornelius Edison ended up being their starting center throughout the preseason, and then you just cut him. Yeah, he is back on the practice squad, and obviously they felt like he wasn't quite ready, and that's why they make the trade for Brett Jones. And so now the one of the questions is who's going to be the center, and at this point I honestly can't answer that. It reminds me a lot of last preseason where they went through all these different line combinations, and then what they opened up the regular season with wasn't any of the line combinations that they used during the preseason. It worked for them last year. The one thing I will say, though, is that everybody always talks about consistency on the offensive line, and the Vikings haven't had any of that this preseason, but they've definitely built some versatility by moving guys around and giving them opportunities in different spots, and eventually during the regular season, that sort of thing is going to pay off.
My feeling is they're going to start Jones until Elflein's ready, and then go right to Elflein and use Jones's depth. I think if they really liked, Isidore, they don't trade for Jones.
Yeah, well, and Isidore was a late move to center as well, so his experience is almost none playing center. Jones, my guess would be that's probably what they do is start him for his ability to sort of diagnose defenses, but man, he's only been in this specific offense for a week. It'll be 2 weeks when the regular season opener comes. Now, the one thing that I think is supposed to help him is that he, this whole offseason he spent in Pat Shurmur's offense in New York. So there's going to be a lot of carryover. It's just a matter of how quickly can he get on the same page. But, you're right. Once Elflein is ready, they'll go to him. But I wouldn't be so surprised if then Brett Jones maybe moves over to the left guard spot. If it's, Tom Compton is starting a game or two at left guard, and then Brett Jones maybe moves over to left guard and takes over that position.
Yeah, that does make some sense. Let's talk Adrian Peterson, Teddy, a little more roster construction after I thank Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Tim and I have done a show from his office up there, 11351 Aquila Drive in Champlin, very easy to access. But the thing is, you don't have to go to Tony's office to do business with him. I never do. We use the app. We call the office. We use the website. So Google Tony, Hoaglund. I know the last time we did a Russo show, we had some people come up and ask, how to get hold of Tony, what the best way to do business with Tony was. It's pretty easy. Just Google Tony, Hoaglund.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
All right, so they keep 5 defensive tackles and 5 safeties. I didn't really see that coming.
No, I didn't either. I thought that David Perry was probably on the outs, but I also thought he's kind of the guy that sort of fits both roles. He could be a backup nose tackle. He could be a backup 3 technique. Jaleel Johnson, I think, is the first line that they go to on the depth chart after Linval Joseph and Sheldon Richardson. But I don't think Jalen Holmes is really ready to be in game action, but there was no way they were going to cut a 4th round pick this year. And I think he offers some pretty decent pass rushing ability from the interior. I don't think he's quite strong enough to hold up on, regular situations. So I get what they were doing. I was just surprised that they ended up keeping David Perry again, because I think defensive end had a lot of depth too. That may have allowed them to keep Brian Robinson, or it may have allowed them to do something more in the secondary as well. So, 5 defensive tackles was a surprise for me. 5 safeties was a surprise